Benedict XVI withdrawing from his effective position, although not really.
And so this is a bishop talking to Conchita as a little girl, 1979. And he asked her that question about anything related to the Pope or the Holy Father that happened before the miracle. The bishop said, I want this to be very clear to all who hear this tape. Conchita was very precise. The Virgin told you that before the miracle, and then what? Conchita says, at the time Pope John the 23rd was living, the Virgin said, 3 more popes are left. There will be only 3 more popes. And she was speaking at the time about the end of times. But Conchita's mother was taken by surprise. She wondered out loud in front of her daughter for the reason of the village bells ringing. Conchita answered that the bells announced the death of John the 23rd, and further added that after him, 3 more popes were to come before the end of times. Conchita then corrected herself and stated, well, 4 more popes really, for one will live such a short time that he will not count. First of all, let me confirm that you've also seen that interview and you've heard of this, and this is real, not something fake.
Absolutely. I even wrote that particular scene as well in my book, Revelations. And
Indeed.
That's exactly what happened. Now, that was at the time of John the 23rd.
Obviously, everybody's freaking out. But then Conchita makes that really neat thing when her mom freaks out. She goes, well, no, not the one who lasted such a short time. And that's obviously John Paul I, because I think it was like 30 days. So that's interesting, because then that brings us beyond Paul VI, John Paul I, John Paul II, to Benedict. But that's it. So yeah, I don't know what that means, but this is from Conchita, from a, yes, non-approved, but St. Padre Pio approved prophetic message. These are confusing times. I don't know what you'd like to say about it, but it's just, here we are in the midst of all of this stuff, and we're seeing what we thought before was impossible with the changes, the Pachamama, and now with Leo, the LGBT pilgrimage into St. Peter's Basilica. All this stuff thought to be impossible. Both those incidences, by the way, described by cardinals living today as manifestation of the biblical prophecy of the abomination of desolation entering the holy place.
There is so much more than that, but that's a cornerstone. There are so many other scandals that we could have covered, but you're quite right. This has led many authorities in the Catholic Church, and you have to be very careful, and your viewers must know this, that by you presenting these matters, you're exposing yourself to also countermeasures. So this takes a lot of courage on your part and valiancy to do so. But I will follow in the same path, in the sense that the questions that were raised, Benedict XVI withdrawing from his effective position, although not really, no, because he maintained a statutory position as the pontiff of the Catholic Church, maintaining, including his position, his ring, his habit. There were some parts of it all that appear to be a redelegation of his governing authority on the Church based on the ecclesiastical election that would ensue with the next conclave, which led to the election of Pope Francis, shall we say. No. What I will say will sound very controversial, but it is cold facts. It does not come with any passion of any sort. But I've heard a battalion of canonical lawyers who stated that in many instances, including some safeguards which have been raised by His Holiness Saint Pope John Paul II, plus some canonic aspects of the law, which clearly has been established to maintain a neutral virgin state of election with the conclave, which have been utterly and consciously ignored. And I'm using very diplomatic language here. Hopefully you'll observe that. No, I must. So, in this instance, many authorities in the Church raised the question whether or not the election of Pope Francis was indeed valid or not, in virtue of the fact that the safeguard raised by John Paul II and those particular paragraphs within canonical law have been utterly ignored. This opens, as the Americans say, a new can of worms, in the sense that if he wasn't properly, duly elected in accordance with the norms and the regulations, the law established by the Vatican, it would mean that all his actions, including the naming of quantities of cardinals who themselves, at a later stage, after the passing away of Pope Francis, elected Pope Leo XIV, eventually made the election, the second election, after the passing away of Pope Benedict XVI, illicit. That is what is today happening with the crossing of blades of the pro and those who are against this particular argument. I'm relaying this fact as neutrally and coldly as I possibly can, but as objectively as well as I possibly can. So this is, we're finding ourselves in a serious jam, because we find ourselves literally de facto in a sort of a Catholic ecclesiastical civil war.
Hi everyone, this is John Henry Weston for LifeSite News. We hope you found this video insightful. For more content like this, be sure to check out the links in the description below. You can also follow us on social media to stay updated on the latest news concerning life, faith, family, and freedom. Thanks for watching, and may God bless you.